It's Mazzy here. So today I'm going to rank the Rolling Stones records. Here's what I do. I chose the 15 best records. Again, I say this every time. The best according to me, my opinion. And then I'll put them in order from 15 down to 1. Just to let you know where I'm coming from. These are my Rolling Stone records. These are Rolling Stone records from my main collection. Then I have the reissues, the 2010 box sets, the Atco years, the first years of the Rolling Stones, which this is not a showcase, so I'm not going to show you all these. I think I did a Stones showcase in the past, which I'll put a link below if I did. I know I did. So there's a link below if you want to actually see every record, but I don't really talk much about them. And then there's, of course, the Rolling Stones record when they went to Atlantic Records box set, again from 2010. And then, of course, there's this wonderful mono box, which is sorely out of print. You should grab a copy. There is a CD version of this, but warning, be careful. There are a lot of Russian bootleg versions of that CD mono box. So get the real deal. Order from someone you trust, not an eBay schlub that's in some little Soviet hut churning these records out. So here we go. We're going to do Rolling Stone. At the end of this, I'm going to show a few pictures I took at Winterland of the Rolling Stones. It's going to kind of fade out at the end, just to give you a little visual stimulation. From 1972, it was the XL on Main Street tour I saw at Winterland. Stevie Wonder opened up. Great show. I saw the Rolling Stones about 6 times. I first saw them in 1969 at the Old Coliseum. I think in the summer or fall of that year. And then, of course, I went later in the year and I attended Altamont and saw the Stones at Altamont. That's a story for another day. I think I've shared it on other videos. And then I saw them in 1972, obviously the XL on Main Street tour at Winterland. And then I saw them several times in the 70s and once in the 80s. And I don't remember which tour, Candlestick Park, but all in San Francisco. So without further ado, the best Rolling Stones albums ranked from 15 to 1. Okay, before I dive in, I'm going to show 2 comps that I really highly suggest. The Stones have issued so many comps on compact disc and vinyl over the years. Greatest hits, hits of hits, singles, mono hits. And there are a lot of great collections, many of which you can't go wrong with. But one that I got early on is this High Tide and Green Grass. This is one of my earliest Stones record. I didn't buy the Stones record at the very beginning of '64. I got into the Stones, like a lot of people, with satisfaction. In 1965, bought the single. And then late '65 is when I started buying their records. But this is a great, great comp. This is the American cover, and this was the UK cover. And it's called Big Hits, High Tide and Green Grass, Rolling Stones. Great collection. And then Through the Past Darkly. A second volume came out much later. I think it's 1969 or 1970 this came out. And of course it has all the great singles from the time. So if you don't have any Stones records and you just want the hits, I just love the feel of these 2 records, as greatest hits records. They're amongst my favorites. So let's get on with it. Again, subjective. No, they got a confusing catalog and as much as I know these records fairly well, I get even confused by the United Kingdom and the American configurations early on. And here we go, number 15. It's only rock and roll. Of course, the great sort of becomes somewhat of an anthem. Mick Taylor's in the band here. It's only rock and roll. The Guy Pilot, artist who did this great cover, did a book called Rock Dreams. That's really a wonderful sort of illustrated of situations of famous rock musicians. Check that out, Rock Dreams, the book of his artwork. But I love this cover. This is a 1974 album. Of course, it has the hit, It's Only Rock and Roll, but I love it. Ain't Too Proud to Beg, the Temptations cover song. Time Waits for No One, which has amongst my favorite Mick Taylor guitar riffs in it. I love that song. Dance Little Sister. Fingerprint File. Like this record, I don't think it as a whole, it's a fantastic record. Has some hits. It's at that time the Stones were kind of getting a little muddied as far as I was concerned. They had a golden age from like, God, 67, 68 really, to 72 in my opinion. But this record, 1974, favorite, number 15. I already know the one that everyone's going to say I missed, so you can write that in the comments at the end and see if it's what you think it is. Number 14, this record, Rolling Stones' Tattoo You. I just love the fact that they got something like $6 million from Microsoft to use Start Me Up for Windows 95. I think Start Me Up is a great fucking single. The Stones, probably more than any other band, were great at riffs. I mean, come on, going back to Satisfaction, how simple is that riff? But Start Me Up is another one. Honky Tonk Woman, there's a certain thing that they let off. Keith Richards, man, you can't deny that talent of writing a great riff to lead off a rock and roll song. Swampy, bluesy. This song is a great record. This is a great record. Hang Fire is great. It's fast, it's upbeat. Black Limousine, Waiting on a Friend, another great song that's got a great riff, guitar riff in it. So love the song, love the packaging, love the cover art here. Tattoo You, Rolling Stones, great record, number 14. Now, where I said it gets confusing on their US and American records, and coming at number 13, I'm showing Out of Our Heads, and this is an American comp. And the reason I'm showing this mainly because of the single Satisfaction. This might be, I don't know why I don't remember this, but this might be the first Rolling Stones album I bought in the US, a version of this. This is a reissue from the mono box, actually. But because of Satisfaction, I know that's a single and maybe doesn't fit on any of their albums, because in the UK it was not on this record, or the closest to this record, but I really love this record. Also on here is a great song, one of the first songs I ever learned, aside from Satisfaction, on the guitar that our band played, our garage band when I was a kid, is Play With Fire. Spider and the Fly, also another great song. And opening up with Mercy, Mercy. I mean, there's a lot of covers here. You know, the Stones were slow, Jagger and Richards, to start writing their own material, and relied on the Beatles just for a moment. With their song, I Want to Be Your Man, which is, to me, one of the weakest Lennon-McCartney songs ever. I love their version of it. I like the Beatles version of it, even with Ringo, but it's not a great song, really, you know. But when they caught on and started writing material, I mean, obviously Satisfaction is an incredible single, incredible rock and roll song. So, coming in number 13, Out of Our Heads. This is from the mono box, this particular version. Love this song, love this album, number 13. Number 12. I kind of surprised myself why this wasn't higher, but to me this is their late great album of the 1970s. But you know, I mean, even being number 12 on a whole catalog is a great place to be. Is Some Girls. This is an original copy of Some Girls with all the original stars, including Lucille Ball. They later had to take them out for contractual reasons. Now, this is a great record. Maybe I should have put it higher, but where I am right now, I think number 12 is high enough. Faraway Eyes, one of the great country songs that the Stones ever wrote. Stones wrote a lot of great country songs. Country Honk, Honky Tonk Woman, you know, the country version of that. Faraway Eyes. But rock and roll on here, Beast of Burden, what a great rock and roll song. Shattered. This was a great song. I think Miss You takes it down for me, even though it's a great song and the Stones were doing their disco bit, Mick Jagger howling around. That I go hot and cold for Miss You, because it's to me a little dated. I get it. You know, everyone did their dated disco crap in the late 70s, including the Stones. When the Whip Comes Down, of course, the cover of Just My Imagination, and Some Girls. What a great song Some Girls is, right? But Girl with the Faraway Eyes is one of my favorite songs on this album. But I think number 12 is high enough for me for Some Girls, the Rolling Stones. Love this record this is 1978, I believe, right? Yep. Okay, coming in at number 11, the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones, the UK copy of their debut album. They put out some EPs prior to this and some singles, but this is one of the great early 60s, from 1964, British blues rock albums. The British artists doing the blues. Of course, we got the Yardbirds, we got John Mayall, we got a lot of other artists that were entrenched. The Animals entrenched in this, a great American musical form. And of course, the Stones were just so in love with it. This is a great record. It's early, it's raw, it's them just doing it like no one else at the time. I mean, the Beatles were going more in the Motown side of things, more, into that realm. And the Stones were really going a little raw in that. This is a fantastic record. It's their debut record from 1964. Now on here, it opens up with Bobby Troupe's Route 66, a great cover song, a lot of cover songs. I Just Want to Make Love to You, Dixon's song, Mona, the great song that I didn't get this album right away, and one of my favorite versions of them is in the late 60s or later 60s, 68, I guess, is Quicksilver Messenger's version, but a lot of people covered that song as well. Of course, I'm a King Bee, Chuck Berry's great song, Carol, Walking the Dog, but it's got a great original song, one of my favorite of their early original songs called Tell Me. Tell Me is on here, and I think that's an early sign that they were going to write some great songs. So I think that's sort of their first mature pop rock and roll song, Tell Me. So number 11, the great debut LP, the UK version by the Rolling Stones. At number 10, Black and Blue. This is a record that I find I constantly play. Out of all this sort of 70s Stones period, aside from the classics, when I'm in the mood and I don't know what Stones to play, or I don't want just this, intense assault, I love this record. The sound, the recording of this record, to me, is amongst one of the better recorded, one of the better sounding Rolling Stones records. Billy Preston's piano is all over this record or throughout it, and I love the sound he gets on this piano, especially on the song Melody. Melody with Billy Preston on piano, just a great, saucy, bluesy, swampy, like beautiful song, and Billy Preston kind of singing backgrounds on a little bit, but love this record. This has, great cover photography by the Japanese fashion photographer, portrait photographer Hiro, Hiro. Also on this song, they do a Hey Negrita, which has got a really great sort of a funky reggae-based beat. Really great opening track on side 2. Of course, Melody, as I said, is on side 2. Fool to Cry, one of the most beautiful ballads and sexy songs the Stones ever recorded. Crazy Mama, big upbeat number. But again, opening up the record with Hot Stuff. It's a very percussive record. The drums are really pushed forward on this. Hand of Fate, Cherry O Baby, of course, another great reggae. They really were listening to a lot of, going through the whole reggae thing here. And we're really entrenched in that music. So it really shows on this. And of course, the beautiful, heroic song, Memory Hotel. And of course, Ronnie Wood here is on the band. 1976, Black and Blue. Coming at number 9. Now, Between the Buttons. Between the Buttons, again, is one of those records that had different configurations. I no longer have the American one, which I just realized, and I wish I did. I prefer the American version of this because it has 2 songs that I have on other comps, but I think it really makes this record a perfect record, the American version. It includes Let's Spend the Night Together and Ruby Tuesday. Ruby Tuesday is amongst my all-time favorite Rolling Stones song. It's not on the UK version, but Cool Calm Collected is on here. Connections, Sold Out, Miss Amanda Jones, and a funny ending, Something Happened to Me Yesterday. This is a favorite of mine, coming in early in 1967. It just has a good feel throughout. A lot of people don't almost don't take this album seriously, but I love this record. Again, especially the American version. And now I realize I need to find an American copy of this because I have several. This is from the mono box, but in the other boxes and in my regular collection, I only have UK copies. So Between the Buttons coming in at number 9. Number 8. Number 8 is one of the greatest live rock and roll records of all time. I almost didn't include a live record, but I think this is an important part of the canon of the Rolling Stones. There have been so many live records since. After a while, they're like a lot of other groups are putting out these almost like bootleg, unreleased live sessions. The Marquee Club, which is great, and so many others. And I'm not including those at all. I'm really just including records that came out in the day, in order at the time. But number 8 here, Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. Of course, this is from the tour that I first saw. This is recorded, I think, Madison Square Gardens, in November of '69. So this is very soon before the Altamont fiasco. What a great time to see the Rolling Stones. This is an amazing live record, amazing live recording. I think it's such an important part of their discography. I had to include a great rock and roll record. Again, if you want a live Stones record, this is the one to get, except No Substitutes. Coming at number 7 is an album that I really like, but whenever I think of this album, I think of a quote by Marianne Faithfull, who said, and I'm paraphrasing here, the Stones were shit or shite or shit at psychedelia. And in 1967, they put out this record. I love this record. I think She's a Rainbow, a great friggin' single. Used by Apple for the rollout of their colored iMacs. But it's a great song. Citadel, In Another Land. Sing this all together. She's a Rainbow. She's a Rainbow. 2,000 Light Years from Home. On with the Show. Gomper, The Lantern. I think this is a really good record. I know a lot of some Stones fans and critics at the time love to hate this record. Of course, the lenticular cover, the Beatles are hidden in there as a response to We Love You, Rolling Stones on the cover of Sgt. Pepper. Look at that maze. The Beatles never put a maze on their records. But 1967, a fantastic record. I mean, do you remember the insert of Sgt. Pepper? Come on, guys. Come on, boys. Having said that, so what? I like to tease about Beatles versus Stones, but I like both bands, and I think they really had like friendly competition where they just were listening to each other's work. A lot of people like to slog it off, but I think this is a fantastic record. And again, this is one that I listened to quite a bit from 1967, coming in at number 7. Number 6. Now, this is a comp, but I think this is this is an American comp originally, and this is Flowers. This literally came out like 2 or 3 weeks after Sgt. Pepper came out, and it's a fantastic comp. And a lot of times in the UK, singles weren't on albums in the 60s. They were a separate entity along with EPs, extended plays. But in America, this came out, and this collected a lot of the singles and songs that kind of didn't make it on records or off records. This is a fantastic 1967 summer record. I said earlier that Ruby Tuesday was amongst my favorite Rolling Stones songs, and it opens up this record, so it's so beautiful. Have You Seen Your Mother, Baby, Standing in the Shadows. What a great song. Let's Spend the Night Together, another great song. Lady Jane, oh my God, beautiful, beautiful Jagger Richards song. At a Time, My Girl, Backstreet Girl, Please Go Home. Mother's Little Helper, come on, the Beatles never wrote a song about, housewives taking uppers and pills at the time. I didn't know what that song was about. I thought it was about maybe, the mother's little kid helping around the house. What did I know? Ride On Baby, Sitting on a Fence. Beautiful record, beautiful cover. This is kind of the end where they're slogging off Brian Jones too. I heard that's why he didn't get leaves on his flower. But love this comp. I think it's a fantastic record, and this is number 6 for me on my Best of Rolling Stones list. Okay, now we're getting into rock and roll here, for a bit at least. Coming in at number 5. I wanted to pull up Joe D'Alessandro's zipper there. Andy Warhol cover, one of the most famous covers ever. Always put it in plastic or put something here, otherwise whatever record comes after will be worn because of this zipper. Original cover, you can tell by my double autograph. I don't know why I wrote Maslov. Original copy. This came out I bought this the week it came out. Of course, everyone knows Sticky Fingers. This was, as I was getting into college, this was 1971, actually my senior year of high school-ish, you know. Brown Sugar, what are the great singles of the Stones again? Again, a great opening riff for Brown Sugar, Sway, Wild Horses, you know, kind of their Keith Richards sort of homage in a way to Graham Parsons. Can't You Hear Me Knockin', You Gotta Move. Bitch, I Got the Blues. Now, Sister Morphine, as I recall, I think Sister Morphine's the one that later got a credit because it's Jagger Richards, but I think later it got a writing credit because of Marianne Faithfull kind of worked on that. So subsequent issues, as I recall, correct me here if I'm misquoting this, but I think Marianne Faithfull finally got an co-authorship of that song. She was involved in it. And what's great about that song, Ry Cooder's on guitar. Ry Cooder helped Keith Richards taught him how to play bottleneck guitar. Around this time, you know, I guess, one of the great solo singles, Memo from Turner, from the soundtrack of Performance, with Ry Cooder's bottleneck playing on that. I love that. There's a Stones version on Metamorphosis, which was a collection, a hodgepodge. I did not include that, but I love that collection. It's kind of an APCO release as they were leaving APCO and moving on to their own Rolling Stones records, part of Atlantic Records. Dead Flowers, another country song by the Stones. Moonlight Mile. Every song on here is great. This is an amazing record, an amazing cover. I mean, why is it only number 5 for me? I'm sure this could be in the top 3 for most people, but come on, top 5 is pretty great. And again, they started their own label. They started their own logo. The tongue became this iconic image for the Rolling Stones. So, 1971, Sticky Fingers, Rolling Stones at number 5. Now, number 4, I see a lot of people just really jump on the whole 70s thing, but I really like one record in particular, and again, there's UK and American versions. Coming in number 4 for me is a record that I adore, a record that I love the cover on, and that's Aftermath. I just like this name. I think Aftermath is a perfect name for a record, whatever their intentions were. It's got Mother's Little Helper again. Again, I'm repeating some songs because of the comp I included there, but opens up with that, and Stupid Girl, Lady Jane, Under My Thumb, Don't You Bother Me and Going Home, Flight 505, At a Time, I Am Waiting. I Am Waiting is a great song too. So this is the mono from the mono box, based on the UK configuration of Aftermath, which I prefer. Incredible record. It's my number 4th favorite Rolling Stones record. It's their number 4th best, according to Mazzy here. Love this record. Number 3. We're getting up there, aren't we? Number 3. One of the great double albums of all time, Exile on Main Street. What an explosive record. What a drug-fueled, cocaine nose intense explosion of music. The Stones doing this record. It's, everyone will compare it to the White Album or Blonde on Blonde because it is a tour de force. There's so much variety on here. But this record just explodes with rock. Came with a bunch of postcards. Again, this was the Rolling Stones tour that I saw at Winterland for $5.50, as I said earlier. But it starts off with Rocks Off. What a great, intense opening song, Rocks Off. Is that right? Yeah. Rip This Joint, Shake Your Hips, Casino Boogie, Tumble and Dice. Again, one of the great riffs, opening riffs of a single, one of the great singles of the Stones, possibly their greatest single of the 1970s. I'm not rating my singles, but you know what's great about Tumble Dice? It's got this groove to it. It's not a fast song. It's not a slow song, but it's a great rock and roll song. It's kind of that swampy, bluesy groove that only the Stones had. I mean, the Beatles never had that. And I guess I'm only comparing it because you always get that Beatles Stones shit going on. But that was just a great, great single. But there's a lot of there's this New Orleans bluesy, swampy feel to this whole record. Of course, opening side 2 is Sweet Virginia, yet another country. You know, I think that would be a fun comp. And I think I might have made a playlist once of that for my car years ago, a CD, which I no longer have, but I think I'm going to do it now. The Stones do country. That'd be a fun, record store day issue and pull together all these great country songs, because there's a lot of that kind of stuff on their collections of records from their discography. Really beautiful artwork too. What a wonderful, wonderful record. Happy. You always got to have that couple Keith Richards songs in there. Ventilated Blues, Let It Loose. I mean, the great Dr. John plays piano on that song. Just a great, great song. And great Clyde King background vocals. The background vocals, female background vocals on several cuts on this album really add to it, really make it. And I love that. Shine a Light, Soul Survivor, all down the line. Stop Breaking Down. I mean, come on. Ian Stewart on piano, Clyde King vocals, Vanetta, and just a great, great series of guest artists supplementing the Stones in there. French Chalet, I think they recorded this record. Great record, my number 3rd favorite Stones record, best Stones record on this best of 15 Mazzi's music comp. Number 2. This is a record that a lot of people place at number 1, but I'm placing at number 2. I wrote a review on this record for my high school newspaper. I remember it. So I remember listening to it and writing about it. That's how detailed the memory I have. I love this record. Let It Bleed. What a great record. Let It Bleed. Oh my God. 1969, Let It Bleed. Love in Vain. Midnight Rambler. Gimme Shelter. You Got the Silver. Now, I would argue that You Can't Always Get What You Want is one of their greatest records. Not their greatest. I'm going to tell you what that is in a minute. But the production of that record, the boys choir in that record, there's a soulness to that record, which is just stunningly beautiful. Monkey Man, I remember writing about Monkey Man when I reviewed it, just as intense, you could use a lemon squeezer. That's that song, I think, And of course, ending with Country Honk, their version of Honky Tonk Woman in Country for the country record comp. Love this record. Let It Bleed, Rolling Stones. This is the last Brian Jones record. And Al Cooper's on organ on this record. Nicky Hopkins on piano. Ry Cooder again. Ry Cooder again. Ry Cooder is there. He could have been a Stone. Nah, he wouldn't have fit in. He's wrong type. But this is a great record. Number 2. So that only leaves one more record. And y'all know what it is. I think this is the perfect record. Whenever I think about it, I think of Let It Bleed. I think of Exile on Main Street could be number 1. Sticky Fingers too. Those are the 4 that could move around number 1. But when all is said and done, since it came out, I wasn't really ranking albums when this came out in 1968. But to me, Beggar's Banquet is the best Rolling Stones record. Of course, I don't have it here, but they wanted to use the bathroom toilet cover, and it got it was nixed. There's reissues of that and reversions of that on CD and compact disc. This has the best Rolling Stones record. Now, a lot of you maybe you don't know the difference between a record and a song, like with the Grammys. Why is there a best record of the year and a best song of the year? A record is not just the song, it's that particular recording. For instance, a song, yes, the Rolling Stones are the ones that did Sympathy for the Devil, but you know, there could be 100 other covers of that song. But the way this record is made, the way this record sounds, the production, the arrangement, the mixing, Sympathy for the Devil is to me one of the best records, rock and roll records ever made. And I would argue the best record the Rolling Stones ever recorded and put out. It opens this record with those congas and it doesn't stop. It just keeps on going. It's an anthem for the time. 1968, a tempestuous year, an incredible opening, one of the best openings of any record ever made. The record has a lot like Robert Johnson blues on it, No Expectations, Dear Doctor, Parachute Woman, Jigsaw Puzzle. And of course, side 2 opens with another explosive gem, is Street Fighting Man, another iconic, perfect song for 1968. Prodigal Son, Stray Cat Blues, of course, the Robert Johnson song, Factory Girl, and Salt of the Earth. The recordings of the acoustic guitar on this record is great. The rock and roll power of this record is great. This is a perfect album. Anybody into rock and roll, if you don't have this record in your collection, you need to order it right now. Push that buy button. I'm not putting a link below. I'm not getting a cut of this. Buy this record. It's the best Rolling Stones record. It's one of the best records of the 1960s. It's one of the best records. It's the second best record from 1968. I'm not going to mention what the number one record of 1968 is. You could guess. You can write that below for no prizes. Since Beggar's Banquet is my favorite Stones album, I thought those of you who haven't seen it might be interested in seeing what the cover could have been, When I was a teenager, I had a poster of this because it wasn't available on a record at all. I had this size album cover slick that I had up in my bedroom, but look at that. I had so much class here with the handwriting, although I mean, this would have been pretty cool in 1968, kind of reflect what a lot of the music was about it was going on. This is a version that was issued in the stereo box set in 2010 that I showed at the beginning of the top of this video. But the Rolling Stones, my favorite record. God, what a fantastic record. With the cover, it could have been Beggar's Banquet. Fade out and you'll see some photographs I took in Winterland from the side balcony, unfortunately. But, you know, it's the Rolling Stones, the greatest rock and roll band by default. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. And looking forward to your response and your list. Mazzy loves you.